You're already a good bass player. This is the system that makes you a pro. You can already play. You have technique, you know your theory, you can practice, and you actually do it. And still something is missing. You sit down to play jazz and fusion and it doesn't sound like it. Not really. You constantly watch the greatest players online and you feel that gap, that specific gap between where you are and where you know you could be. And the frustrating part? It's not laziness, it's not talent. Nobody ever gave you a map. Today I'm going to give you that map. A 6-pillar system that takes everything you already have. Your technique, your knowledge, your discipline, and gives it a direction, faster than you think. Are you ready for this? I'm Sascha on bass. Let's go. Before we go into the pillars, I want to say something to you directly. I see you, fellow sufferer. I know what it feels like to have the deep, quiet desire to be a great musician, while life pulls you in 100 directions. Family, work, bills, time that disappears. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, the bass. The dream you had when you first picked up the instrument. The player you always thought you'd become by now. I know that feeling, because I have it too. I'm not the bass player I want to be yet. And it bothers me, some days more than others. I think most serious players carry this quietly. We don't always talk about it, but it's there. So if that's where you are, I want you to know you're not alone. And you're not too late. Today is about giving you the structure to finally start closing that gap. Let's begin. Most bass players who come to me are not missing information. They are missing clarity. There's a difference. Information is everywhere now, but most serious players are still stuck, not because they're not working hard enough or because they have limited time on their instrument, but because they're working on the wrong things in the wrong order, without a clear picture of where it all leads. What I'm giving you today is not more information, it's a structure, a sequence. And one more thing before we start. None of these 6 pillars need to be mastered to perfection. The goal is to reach a level where you can walk into any jazz or fusion setting and hold your own. From there you keep learning, but you learn from the inside. As a playing musician, that changes everything. Pillar 1 is analysis. Most players skip this and pay for it for years. Before you touch your bass, sit down and answer these questions honestly. What do you actually want to achieve? By when? Specifically. What are your 3 biggest weaknesses right now? Not the comfortable ones, the real ones. Rank them by priority. What are your 3 strengths? Because those matter too. How much time do you actually have per week? Not the ideal version, the real one. And what are you willing to remove from your schedule to protect that practice time? Because here's the truth, you don't find time, you make it. This step is not glamorous, but it's the foundation of everything that follows. Without it, you're guessing. With it, you have a starting point. And starting from the right place is worth more than months of unfocused practice. Pillar 2. Planning. Once you know where you are and where you're going, you build a plan. Think of it like going to the gym seriously. You don't walk in and do random exercises. You have a split. You know which days, which muscles, which exercises. You rotate, you progress, you take notes, you adjust. That's what a real practice plan looks like for jazz bass. Take your analysis, your weaknesses, your time, your goals, and build a routine around them. For most players working toward jazz and fusion, that includes standards in different styles. Swing, bossa, ballad, samba. Walking bass, comping, soloing, Latin patterns. If you can navigate through standards, you're tied to navigate through almost anything. But the key is specificity. Not, I'll work on jazz today, but I'm going to work on walking bass over autumn leaves at 140 BPM for 20 minutes. Then solo through the changes and record myself. Next day, it's playing bossa patterns on wave at 120 BPM for 15 minutes. Then learn the melody and paraphrase it. That's what turns intention into progress. And your plan will change. It should change, but you always have one. You never just noodle. Pillar 3. You have to play with other musicians. This is the pillar most players delay the longest, and it's the one that accelerates everything else. 2 systems run at the same time. Isolated practice in your room and real application with people. Both are essential. Neither replaces the other, because jazz is interaction. It's communication, it's action and reaction. That's something no amount of solo practice can teach you. So if you've been waiting until you feel ready, stop waiting. Find musicians at your level, better slightly above, and play. Hallo? Hey Phil! Phil, was geht ab? Zocken? Ja klar, voll gern. Samstag. Auf jeden Fall. Bei dir? 14 Uhr, bin da. Cool. Bis dann. Da freue ich mich. Ciao. So if you've been waiting until you feel ready, stop waiting. Find musicians at your level, better slightly above, and play. Regularly. Standards. Just play. You will fail. And you must. That's part of it. Failure is a teacher every great musician has had. Pillar 4. Jazz harmony. You don't need to know everything about jazz harmony. You need a foundation that works on the bandstand, enough to navigate standards, enough to understand certain situations, enough to make musical choices, enough to explore music through creativity. And one thing that will help you more than any theory book, knowing and being able to execute the crucial chords and scales that enable you to play improvisational music in groups without years of studying. I probably should do a video on that. That's the level you need. Knowing the physics of jazz and improvisational music. Not knowing all the harmony. Knowing what harmony actually matters in real life. And that's a big difference, because jazz harmony can overwhelm you. The truth is, you only need a fraction of it to get going in improvisational settings and in becoming pro level in jazz and fusion. There are other things that are more important than knowing everything written in the books as a bass player. I want to pause here for a moment, because if you've been with me this far, nodding along, recognizing yourself in this, I want to tell you about something I'm building. I'm creating a learning space, not just another course. A real community with weekly live sessions with me, where serious players like you get the structure, the guidance, and the accountability to actually walk this path. This is the thing I've wanted to build for some time now, and it's coming. If you want in, or just want to know more when it opens, the waitlist is open right now. Scan this QR code or use the link in the description. Spots will be limited and the people on the waiting list will hear about it first. Okay, 2 more pillars. Pillar 5, technique. You don't need to be fast. I'll say it again. You don't need to be fast. And you know it. Most of my students had practiced technique the wrong way for years. And I did too. What you need is this. Your fretboard and your chord shapes need to feel familiar to you, everywhere on the neck, in all 12 keys. Because when something only works in one key, it's not really in your hands yet. It's a pattern you memorize. When it works in all 12, it's becoming yours. And here's what nobody tells you. Getting better at this is actually a lot of fun. When the fretboard opens up, when you reach for a note and it's just there, you start playing things you've never played before. Lines you didn't plan, combinations you didn't see coming. That feeling, discovering something on your own instrument, is one of the best feelings in music. And it's waiting for you on the other side of this work. And finally, rhythm. The pillar nobody talks about, and the most important one of all. If your timing is weak, your groove is weak, and nobody wants to play with someone who doesn't groove. I don't say that to be harsh. I say it because after 20 years of teaching, I've watched this happen too many times to stay quiet. Players with great technique, beautiful harmonic knowledge, great ears, and they couldn't level up on the people they played with because that time wasn't solid. And this is very subtle. Everything you build sits on top of your time field. If the foundation is shaky, everything above it is too. If you want a killer exercise to make your time feel irresistible, I made a full video on it. Link is right here. Rhythm is not the last pillar because it's least important. It's last because it holds everything else up. Build it like it matters, because it does. Now, I want to step back and talk to you, not as a teacher, as another bass player. I know what it's like. You had a dream once, that you would become a great musician, a real player, someone people called, and then life happened. Family, work, time tiredness, the kind of exhaustion you don't talk about. And somewhere along the way, the dream got quieter. Not gone, just quieter. But it never left, did it? You feel it every time you put on a record, every time you watch a player do the thing you wish you could do, every time you pick up the bass and feel the gap between who you are and who you wanted to be. I want you to hear me when I say this. It is not too late. It really isn't. You can still start a new plan. You can still get serious. You can still close that gap. Not because of motivational quotes, because I have watched it happen. Real players, real lives, real progress. Not in 20 years, in 1. You are not behind. You are not finished. You just needed the map. Now you have it. And if you want help walking this path, that's exactly what I'm here for, on this channel, in my coaching, and inside the learning space I'm building right now, which you can join the waitlist for in the description. So, 6 pillars. Analysis, know where you are. Planning, build a real routine. Playing with musicians. Start before you're ready. Jazz harmony. Build the things that actually matter. Technique. Familiarity over speed. And rhythm, the foundation of everything. None of these need to be perfect. All of them need to be present. Start, not next month. Not when your walking bass lines feel better. Not when you've finished the next course. Start now, with what you have, where you are. Because the bass player you want to be is not waiting for a perfect moment. He's waiting for you to commit to the direction. So if you want to start your analysis and planning, let me help you with this. Thanks for watching, fellow sufferer. Have a good one and see you next time. Bye.